It's time to enter the drone zone with me, James Drone, aka Pure Ambient Drone. So hit that subscribe button, tap that bell, and get ready to synth on.
We are back with episode 17 of Midnight Synthesizer Talk with me, James Drone, the voice of synthesizers. Guys, gals, folks, I am so glad that we get to spend time like this. I really enjoy talking with you about synthesizers. I really enjoy having all of us just closing our eyes, opening our ears, and expanding our minds in a new direction. Yes, Midnight Synthesizer Talks are done at midnight. That's when I record these, and you can listen to them at any time. And I haven't changed my other curriculum on this channel. I still do all the other synthesizer videos that I've done in the past. I've just added this extra. I hope you'll give it a chance. All right. So tonight I want to tell a story. Do you guys feel like a story tonight? Because I feel like telling a story. We live out of city limits, and we live near a creek and a wooded area. My wife is sitting outside, and she comes running into the house. And she says to me that she heard something growl at her. Now, we have a fence around our backyard, and nothing would be able to get over that fence unless it was able to climb. And if it was a bear or something like that, it would certainly damage the fence, I'm thinking. So I go outside with a flashlight, and I don't really see anything, but I do start hearing a large growling sound. And this isn't even the story that I'm really going to tell you, but I'm going to tell you why I'm telling you the next story that goes on. I start hearing a growling sound behind. We have one tree, okay? It's a hazelnut tree. Huge. Very, very tall, big tree. And it's pitch black down there. It's just completely dark. I mean, if you were to go down to this tree, which is, I'd say about maybe 50 feet from our house, it goes down a hill a little bit, not too bad. If you were to stand down there, you probably couldn't see your hand in front of your face. So I brought this flashlight, and I'm standing over by my house. I'm not going down there because, we're hearing this growling. So I'm shining the light down there, and I'm telling you, I saw something hairy and big poke its head around the backside of this tree. I'm not going to lie to you. It startled me, okay? Now, I was thinking perhaps, maybe, possibly, that this could be a critter of some type. Now, I know it's not a squirrel, all right? Squirrel isn't this big. And I'm thinking, could it be a huge, large, massive raccoon peeking out from behind the tree, holding on to it? Well, that's a possibility. Except for the fact that it growled. And I don't mean hiss, and I don't mean snarl. I mean it was a deep growl. So with that being said, I bravely screamed and went into the house. No, I didn't scream. And there's no proof that I actually screamed. So if you heard that rumor, it's totally untrue. But I did go back into the house, and I told my wife, look, we got to go. And let's not mess around out here. Later that night, I'm hearing crazy, strange noises. So I get up to check it out, and my wife's in bed, and everyone's in bed. I mean, there's nobody up. It's just me, and I'm peeking outside. Now, we have a split-level home, and we sleep on the bottom floor. So we get this big, nice patio with some doors, and I peek out through the curtains. And I see in the darkness, okay, but there is some little bit of moonlight or some kind of light coming. I see the outline of a tall, massive figure. And I don't know what it is. I'm not opening the door to find out what it is. Okay? It's big. Now, I would say it was a bear. Because I don't know what else it would be without saying Bigfoot. Okay? You want me to say it? I'll say it. I'll say the word Bigfoot. But that's not what I'm saying this is. I'm saying right now, I don't know what this is. So, whatever it was, it wasn't there the next night. It wasn't there the night afterwards. But the neighbor had said that they had saw a very tall person-like in their backyard. And it was almost like they were a bear, but a person. So there you go. You could say the word Bigfoot again if you wanted to. So is there a Bigfoot? I don't know. I went down to the tree the very next day after seeing this thing, and there was a horrible smell. But I know that animals can let off horrible smells. I'm assuming. I don't know anything about raccoons, but maybe they marked their territory, and that's what I was smelling, because I'm still wanting to convince myself that maybe there was a raccoon on the tree. I'm trying to be objective. Okay. So I told you all of this, but it's not the actual story that I really want to tell you. Now I'm going to get into the story, which is actually the story of what happened to me when I was about, I would say, 14 years old. All right? So let's go all the way back to the 1980s. And my father was in the military, so we were stationed on a military base. And this military base, believe me, you, had lots of woods on it. Now, here's the thing. We used to live on this military base, the exact same one, in the 70s. We moved to Italy. We came back in the 80s. And so I was only a neighborhood away, like 1 or 2 blocks away from my old house. And I was very familiar with the woods behind my old house where we used to live on this military base. And I knew that there was an old trail that ran through these woods that you could take as a shortcut to the military post exchange. We called it the PX for short. So I wanted to go up there and get some comics because I was a huge comic book collector. I still have my comics from my childhood to this day. So I decided I was going to go through these woods that I knew about, but perhaps nobody else realized was there because I had lived there a couple of years previously. And me and my friends, we all would make these trails through the woods and build forts. I thought, wow, what if our trail is still there? It was worth checking out. So this was the first trip I was making to this post exchange since I had moved back onto this military base. So I wanted to check it out. So I go up to these woods and I immediately see that where the trail used to be, there's a lot of growth already covering it up. It's been about maybe a year and a half, 2 years since I lived here, and it was just really neglected. But you could still tell about where it started. And it seemed like, because all my friends had moved away as well, so it seemed like nobody had discovered this trail, and it was really kind of nostalgic in a way for me to go back through it. It brought back a lot of memories of friends I had a couple of years prior. So I started walking this trail, and sure, it was overgrown quite well, but I could still follow it to a certain point. Now, it was wintertime, and there was snow on the ground. And here I am, I'm walking, and I'm all alone. I'm 14 years old, and I know about where I'm going. It's quite a walk through these woods, but it would have been even further to walk around these woods. So I'm cutting through, and right when I know that I should be like right in the middle of where I need to be. Like, so, if I go forward or if I go backwards, I'm in the same amount of distance of getting out of the woods. Start noticing that there's trees that have been knocked down. I start noticing very large footprints in the snow. Large footprints. Big ones. It doesn't take much for a 14-year-old to have his imagination run wild almost instantaneously when he sees giant footprints in the snow. Now, I'm going to tell you guys, and this is just straight up, at 14, I'm in the middle of the woods. I was so stupid, I didn't tell anybody where I was going. And all of this stuff is running through my brain. I knew that my mom wasn't going to let me go to the military post exchange by myself, so I wasn't going to tell her. I was sneaking off. And you got to remember, this was before cell phones. So for any of you youngsters out there that are, hearing this story right now, don't even think that you could pull out a cell phone and start hollering for help, because that did not happen back then. So I start seeing these trees knocked over, footprints in the snow, and then I start hearing a snarly, snorty sound. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. At first, I'm thinking bear. I'm thinking wild boar, some kind of pig or something that's out there. I don't know. I'm just thinking wildlife at first. Yes, I'm thinking about Bigfoot as well, but you don't really want to come to that conclusion first and foremost, okay? You want to think about bears and things like that, which I don't know. I mean, a bear is a horrible thing to run into in the woods. So I'm thinking, okay, wild animal. So I'm looking behind me because I'm thinking, man, I should go back home. But I realize that I have passed the mid-mark. So either which way I go, I'm going to have quite a ways to get out of these woods. So I start looking behind me thinking, man, I should just go back home and forget this idea. I look and the snow's coming down, big fat flakes of snow. The ground is covered in white. It's really foggy and hazy. The snow is starting to come down even more now. I'm thinking, man, I should just go forward, because it started to feel like something was following me. And so I started walking a little bit faster, and then I started hearing footprints behind me. And that really started to scare me, because I could hear the impact of snow that is made by footprints. And I did not like that sound at all, because I knew that something was behind me. I could hear the snorting, I could hear the growling, I could hear the footsteps, and then I started hearing a knocking sound. And it sounded like somebody had a stick or a piece of wood of some type, and they were hitting it against a tree. Now, I wanted to say something. I wanted to call out who's there, who's doing that, but I thought, what kind of answer would I get? I may not like the answer. I was also thinking that too. So I decided that I was going to run for it, and I ran for it. I started running. Now, you got to remember, the snow is everywhere. It's coming down a lot thicker. It's hitting me in my face. It's cold outside. I'm running as fast as I can. I'm trying not to slip in the snow. It's hard to see the debris on the ground because this trail is grown over quite a bit. And the footprints behind me, when I start running, they start getting louder and quicker. Now I realize, wait a minute, I'm being chased. And I'm running and I'm running, and I'm about to get out of the woods, and I look over my shoulder, I'm looking behind me, and I'm telling you that I saw something very big, very tall, on two legs. It must have been 8-9 feet. And it was brown. And it was running through the trees, and it was coming after me. Now, to this day, I don't know what it was, but I shot out of those woods so fast. Now, when you exit these woods, you have a roadway. And back in the 80s, it wasn't traveled heavily. And I ran straight across that because there was no cars coming. And I was thinking, oh man, I hope a bunch of cars come by soon, because this thing may come out of the woods and chase me. And so I ran across the street, and I just kept running towards the post exchange. And when I got there, I got on a payphone. I didn't even go inside and look for the comics I came there for. And I called my mother, and I told her what I had done. I had cut through the woods, and I was scared, and there was something chasing me, and man, was she mad at me. And I was begging her to come get me, but back in those days, we only had one vehicle. My father was still at work, and she couldn't come get me. She said, you get your butt home right now, and you don't go through those woods. You go through the housing district. and you come home right now. And I did. And boy, was she mad. But when she saw how shook up I was, she asked me what happened, and I told her. Now, to this day, I don't know what it was. But because I experienced that, I tend to believe people when they tell me that they had strange encounters in the woods. Now, my logical brain says it was a bear. It could have been some psycho nut chasing me. I don't know. But they were awful tall, very big, and they were very hairy, unless they were wearing some kind of big giant fur coat. I don't think this was a prank. I don't think it could have been a prank. There's just no way. Not in this secluded area. So I don't know what it was. But because of that, I never just throw away someone's eyewitness account of what they believe they saw, what they heard, what they experienced. I think it's very important that we take into consideration that some people have experienced things that other people have not experienced. And just because I haven't experienced something doesn't mean that that's proof that something isn't true. So I hope you enjoyed tonight's story. It didn't have a whole lot to do with synthesizers, did it? I was surrounded by synthesizers as I told you the story, so maybe that counts for something. Well, thanks for joining me again. I am James Drone. Hit that subscribe button, tap that bell, and above all, keep calm and synth on.